Emotional detachment isn't about shutting people out. It's about gaining control over your emotions and reactions. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions. By mastering emotional detachment, you create space for peace and clarity, freeing yourself from unhealthy emotional attachments that cloud judgment and cause unnecessary stress. Letting go isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength. In this article, we'll explore 10 powerful Stoic rules that will guide you in emotionally detaching from others, fostering inner peace and emotional freedom too. Focus on what you can control. Building on the idea of emotional detachment, the Stoic philosophy teaches us one of the most powerful tools for emotional freedom, focusing on what is within your control. This is key to detaching from the emotional grip others can have on your life. When you realize that you can't control other people's actions, reactions, or opinions, you free yourself from the constant stress of trying to change them. Instead of obsessing over situations or the behavior of others, the Stoics encourage us to turn inward and focus on what we can control, our own responses, choices, and attitudes. In any situation, the only thing truly within your control is how you respond to it. This shift in focus is incredibly empowering. When you stop trying to control everything around you and instead focus on controlling yourself, you find peace and clarity in the midst of chaos. Imagine you're in a situation where someone's words or actions upset you. Rather than reacting with anger or frustration, pause and ask yourself, what can I control here? You can't control their words or behavior, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to remain calm, collected, and thoughtful in your response, or choose not to respond at all. The ability to detach emotionally in these moments stems from this powerful focus on what is truly yours to influence, your actions and thoughts. By shifting your attention to what is in your control, you stop giving away your emotional power to other people or situations. You take full ownership of your peace and happiness. This emotional autonomy helps you avoid becoming overly invested in the outcomes of situations that are beyond your control, enabling you to live more freely and with less emotional baggage. The Stoics understood that external circumstances are unpredictable and fleeting, but the state of your inner world is yours to shape. By embracing this mindset, you develop emotional resilience, remaining steady even in the face of challenges or the unpredictability of others. This is not about suppressing your feelings. Rather, it's about acknowledging them, processing them, and then choosing how to act, with a sense of purpose and control. In the process, you learn that detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means choosing to remain unaffected by external disturbances because you understand that they do not define your inner peace. Instead, by focusing on what you can control, you empower yourself to remain calm, composed, and emotionally balanced no matter what life throws your way. 3. Practice acceptance of what is. Building upon focusing on what you can control, another powerful Stoic rule for emotional detachment is the practice of acceptance. Acceptance is not about resigning yourself to things that are wrong, but rather acknowledging reality as it is. By practicing acceptance, you free yourself from emotional turmoil by embracing situations, relationships, and circumstances without resistance. Often, we get caught up in the way things should be, which creates unnecessary stress and frustration when reality doesn't align with our expectations. The Stoics understood that resisting the reality of a situation only prolongs suffering. Instead, they advocated for the acceptance of the present moment, even if it's uncomfortable. When you accept things as they are, you stop fighting against them and, in turn, you stop giving them the emotional power to control you. Imagine you're dealing with a challenging relationship or a difficult situation. Instead of clinging to the hope that the other person will change or the circumstance will improve on your timeline, accept it as it stands right now. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop working towards improvement, but it means you stop being emotionally overwhelmed by your dissatisfaction with the present. You acknowledge that the situation is what it is, and with that realization, you empower yourself to take thoughtful, deliberate actions instead of reacting from a place of frustration or desperation. The beauty of this Stoic practice is that it removes the burden of expecting life to always meet your desires. When you accept what is, you stop living in constant disappointment or fear. You stop attaching your emotional state to how things turn out. Acceptance brings you peace because it eliminates the internal battle between what you want and what is actually happening. Acceptance is also key to emotional detachment in relationships. By accepting people for who they are, rather than who you want them to be, you stop investing emotionally in their ability to change. When you release the need for others to behave in a certain way to satisfy your expectations, you allow yourself the freedom to love them without attachment to outcomes. This doesn't mean you let go of standards or stop seeking growth and improvement. It means you stop investing emotionally in controlling the uncontrollable. When you accept things as they are, you release the emotional burden of constantly pushing against life's unpredictability. In practice, acceptance helps you detach from the outcome and move forward with more clarity, grace, and wisdom. It allows you to live in the moment, appreciating what you have and what you can control while letting go of what's beyond your reach. The more you practice acceptance, the more at peace you become with yourself and the world around you, allowing you to maintain emotional balance no matter what comes your way. 4. Detach from the need for validation following the practice of acceptance. Another powerful Stoic principle that helps us detach emotionally is to detach from the need for external validation. Many of us seek approval, admiration, or acknowledgement from others to feel valued. However, this pursuit of validation often leaves us vulnerable, because our emotions become tied to the opinions and actions of others, which we cannot control. Stoicism teaches us to free ourselves from this dependency, recognizing that true value comes from within. We live in a world where social media and societal expectations push us to seek validation constantly. Whether it's the number of likes on a post or approval from our friends and family, these external cues can make us feel good temporarily but often leave us empty and seeking more. The Stoic approach to emotional detachment encourages us to look inward for our sense of worth, rather than relying on the unpredictable and often fickle approval of others. By detaching from this need for external validation, we reclaim control over our emotional well-being. The first step in this process is understanding that seeking approval from others is rooted in insecurity. When you feel the need to constantly validate your actions, thoughts, or appearance, it's often because you're not fully accepting of who you are. The Stoics believe that self-worth should be based on one's own values, actions, and virtues, not on what others think or say. This principle encourages you to focus on cultivating inner strength and confidence, trusting that your value isn't determined by the fleeting opinions of others. By focusing on your internal compass, your values, your ethics, your goals, you shift the power away from external validation to your own sense of purpose. When you no longer need others to validate you, you stop giving away your emotional power. Instead, you trust your own judgment and find contentment in being true to yourself. This detachment helps you stay focused on what truly matters in life, whether it's personal growth, meaningful connections, or contributing to something greater than yourself. A practical example of detaching from validation is in relationships. When you stop seeking constant reassurance from others, you start to build healthier and more authentic connections. You no longer need to seek approval from your partner, friends, or colleagues to feel worthy. You can love and support others without tying your self-esteem to their responses or behaviors. This frees you to engage in relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than on a need for validation. Detaching from the need for validation also prevents emotional roller coasters, as you are no longer affected by the fluctuating opinions of others. You learn to embrace your own path, trusting that your value and actions speak louder than external applause. As you practice this Stoic principle, you become more resilient and emotionally grounded, taking responsibility for your happiness and not relying on anyone else to provide it for you. In the end, by detaching from the need for external validation, you step into a life where you are the one who defines your worth and emotional state, making you unshakable in the face of life's challenges. This level of emotional freedom is the ultimate form of self-mastery and the key to achieving true inner peace. 5. Embrace impermanence to find peace. Building on the idea of detaching from external validation, another powerful Stoic practice is embracing the impermanence of life. The Stoics firmly believe that everything in life, whether it's relationships, possessions, or even our emotions, is transient. This acceptance of impermanence frees us from the emotional turmoil that arises when we try to hold on to things or people that are beyond our control. We often find ourselves deeply attached to people, situations, or even our own success, thinking that these things define our happiness. However, the reality is that everything in life changes. People come and go, circumstances shift, and the world continues to evolve. When we cling to the notion that things should remain the same, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. The The Stoic response is simple: accept the natural flow of life and embrace the temporary nature of all things. The Stoics teach that true peace comes from recognizing and accepting that nothing lasts forever. When we understand that nothing, whether good or bad, will remain the same forever, we can approach life with a sense of tranquility. The things that cause us pain today, the people who seem so important in our lives, and even the successes we chase so hard will all fade eventually. This isn't meant to be a depressing realization, but rather a liberating one. It teaches us to stop clinging to what we cannot keep and to cherish the present moment, fully appreciating what we have while it lasts. By embracing impermanence, we also learn to be more adaptable. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and by accepting that change is inevitable, we can respond with calmness and clarity, rather than fear or anxiety. When we stop resisting change and allow ourselves to flow with life, we become more resilient. If a job, a relationship, or a phase of life comes to an end, we can face it with courage and gratitude, knowing that new opportunities will arise. An essential aspect of this practice is understanding the impermanence of our own emotions. When we experience anger, sadness, or frustration, it's easy to get caught up in these feelings and believe they define us. However, the Stoic perspective reminds us that emotions, like everything else, are fleeting. By recognizing this, we can learn not to be controlled by them. Instead of letting negative emotions dictate our behavior, we can acknowledge them, allow them to pass, and then return to a place of inner peace. To embrace impermanence in daily life, take moments to reflect on the transient nature of everything. Remind yourself that your current struggles, the difficulties in your relationships, or the pain you're feeling will eventually fade. This acceptance will not only help you to detach from what no longer serves you, but will also allow you to fully appreciate the present moment. In the end, embracing impermanence is about releasing our tight grip on life's fleeting nature and learning to flow with it. It's the key to finding peace amidst uncertainty, letting go of the past, and opening ourselves up to the future with optimism. As you practice this Stoic principle, you will begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at peace with the world around you. 6. Master the art of self-control for emotional freedom. Building upon the idea of embracing impermanence, we now dive into the crucial practice of mastering self-control, a skill that allows us to regain emotional freedom and detach from unnecessary emotional turmoil. Self-control isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending that you don't feel pain, sadness, or anger. It's about choosing how you respond to them. Stoicism teaches us that we can control our reactions to events and situations, even when we cannot control the events themselves. At the heart of self-control is the recognition that emotions are powerful, but they don't have to rule our lives. Instead of letting a momentary feeling dictate our behavior or cloud our judgment, Stoics encourage us to pause and reflect before reacting. By taking a step back, we allow ourselves the space to decide how to approach the situation. It's this pause, this moment of stillness, that grants us the power to choose our responses and regain control. For instance, when faced with a stressful or triggering situation, such as a disagreement with a loved one or a challenging work scenario, our immediate impulse might be to react with frustration, defensiveness, or anger. However, the Stoic approach is to recognize that we can choose a different path. Rather than succumbing to the immediate emotional reaction, we pause and consider our options. Should we speak calmly and thoughtfully, or should we take a step back and give ourselves time to cool off? This practice of pausing before reacting allows us to make decisions that align with our values, rather than reacting impulsively based on fleeting emotions. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is to focus on what is within our control and to let go of what is not. We cannot control the actions or words of others, nor can we always control external circumstances. But we can control how we respond. By mastering self-control, we develop a greater sense of emotional stability. This stability is the foundation of emotional freedom. When we no longer let external factors push our emotional buttons, we become less reactive and more resilient in the face of adversity. A key aspect of self-control is learning to detach from the need for external validation. Often, we tie our happiness and emotional well-being to the approval or disapproval of others. This dependence can lead to emotional volatility, as we become overly sensitive to the opinions and actions of those around us. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, not from external sources. By practicing self-control, we can detach from the need for validation and find inner peace. One of the best ways to cultivate self-control is through mindfulness and self-awareness. By becoming more aware of our emotions and the triggers that set them off, we can begin to anticipate and regulate our responses. For example, if we know that certain situations tend to make us anxious or frustrated, we can mentally prepare ourselves to respond with calm and clarity. This practice helps us build emotional resilience and control over time. Mastering self-control is not an overnight process. It requires consistent practice and reflection. But the more we practice, the stronger our emotional freedom becomes. With self-control, we gain the ability to detach from the whims of our emotions and live with greater peace, power, and purpose. By mastering this Stoic principle, we can weather life's storms without being overwhelmed by them, and in doing so, unlock a deeper sense of freedom and fulfillment. 7. Cultivate inner peace through acceptance and letting go. Building on the importance of self-control, the final step in mastering emotional detachment lies in cultivating inner peace through acceptance and letting go. After we've learned to manage our emotional responses and detach from external influences, the next crucial practice is the ability to accept what we cannot change and to let go of the attachment to outcomes that no longer serve us. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to a life of passivity. Instead, it's about embracing reality as it is, without unnecessary resistance or judgment. Life, with all its challenges, surprises, and disappointments, can sometimes feel overwhelming. However, Stoics remind us that we can find peace by accepting that life is inherently unpredictable. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Think of it like holding onto a rope with all your might. If you're desperately pulling and resisting, you'll only exhaust yourself. But if you let go, you create space for peace to enter. Similarly, when we accept situations as they are and let go of the desire to control every outcome, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of constant striving. This practice of acceptance doesn't mean being indifferent to what's happening around us. Instead, it's about recognizing that we cannot change every circumstance. By surrendering our need to control outcomes, we open ourselves to the possibility of experiencing life with more ease and clarity. Letting go also means releasing grudges, anger, and negative attachments that keep us tethered to past hurts or unrealized expectations. Holding on to resentment only weighs us down, while letting go allows us to move forward with a light heart. An important aspect of acceptance is understanding the concept of amor fati, which translates to love of fate. This Stoic principle teaches us to love and embrace every experience, good or bad, as part of our journey. Instead of resenting challenges, we learn to see them as opportunities for growth and transformation. Each obstacle becomes a lesson in patience, resilience, and wisdom. By accepting and loving everything that comes our way, we cultivate an inner peace that is invincible to external circumstances. Acceptance is also crucial when it comes to our relationships. We often become attached to the idea of how we want others to behave, think, or feel. This attachment can lead to disappointment, frustration, or heartache when people inevitably don't meet our expectations. However, by accepting others as they are, without trying to change them, we release the grip of control that keeps us emotionally entangled. This detachment creates healthier, more peaceful relationships, as we learn to love people for who they truly are, not for who we want them to be. Letting go is an ongoing practice. It requires awareness and the willingness to release what no longer serves us. With each practice of letting go, we create more space for peace, love, and joy to enter our lives. It is in this space that true emotional detachment is achieved, when we no longer allow external circumstances or the actions of others to disturb our inner calm. By mastering acceptance and letting go, we unlock a deeper sense of freedom and emotional resilience. And in doing so, we find the peace we've been searching for all along. If you found this video helpful and insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means the world to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and share your opinions on emotional detachment and Stoic wisdom. What's your experience with letting go? We want to know. And remember, if you loved this content, we have plenty more where that came from. Check out our other videos for more wisdom on how to live a peaceful, powerful life. Keep growing and keep thriving, Thank you for being a part of our community.